Today we'll be making an apple crisp with a crunchy oat topping, perfect for a fall evening dessert. Hi, and to start making our apple crisp with the oat topping, we're going to begin by slicing up our apples. These are 6 apples, a variety of 3 Granny Smith, 2 Honey Crisp, and 1 Gala apple, and that just makes for a really good filling if you mix up your apples rather than one kind. And it is going to be supposed to be cored, peeled, and sliced. But if you're like me, I don't have an apple core, and as Alton Brown says, a unitasker sucks. So I will show you how to get around that. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and peel this apple. I'm going to show you how. I do have a peeler here, like a vegetable peeler. I particularly do not like this. It just makes a mess to me. They go everywhere. Good old paring knife works best because you can just take off that thin layer of apple. Let's get all this off for you so I can show you. And a good trick, because you have 6 apples to slice and dice here, they will start turning brown pretty quick. So I would definitely put some lemon juice over it. That retards that turning brown. And this smells so good. I could just eat this apple the way it is right now. Okay. Now, because like I said, I'm not coring it, I'm just going to take it off like this. I go pretty close to the edge. Of you that have small children, I'm sure you're used to cutting up apples and you don't need someone to show you exactly how to do that. And I just slice them up in little pieces like this. Usually I'll cut that in half and then I'll do that. And I'll show you in a minute the lemon juice. Or some of you might even have one of those, and again, a unitasker, which a lot of us frown on, but you might have one of those apple peeler things that peels it for you in like 5 seconds. But I'm sort of old-fashioned in that I do it the old school way. And as you see how I'm slicing that. And it really makes no difference, just slice them up. I mean, everybody has their own way to peel and slice an apple, I'm sure. I'm making them pretty thin so they'll cook pretty well. Okay, that's that. So let me get some lemon juice here and show you how I do this. I need a man sometimes for this. This is using so many muscles. And I do a whole lemon, and it doesn't affect the taste. It actually makes it just taste that much better, because it's going to have plenty of sugar in it. Okay, and so as you peel them, you'll just kind of take your hands and stir that around so that they all get coated with lemon juice, and that'll hold that browning. So as you can see, we've cut up all these apples. It is a lot of apples, and I would suggest to you moms out there that, you know, you work and you want a nice dessert for your family at night, but you don't really have time to cut up 6 apples because it's time consuming. Please explore other things in the supermarket. They've got so many pre-cut up things now, from veggies to fruits. You should be able to find something, maybe it's got citric acid in it or whatever to keep it from browning. Even, it's outside the scope of this recipe, but even feel free to experiment with a canned apple filling. Just remember, you would want to cut out some of your sugar that I'm going to put in these apples because an apple filling is already sweet. So what we're going to do here is we've got 2 tablespoons of white sugar that I'm going to sprinkle all over it. And we also have a half a teaspoon of ground cinnamon. And cinnamon is in this twice, so this part here, it's basically, again, use your hands, just get all this. It's almost like making an apple pie. You just want to get all of that coated in that goodness. And boy, it smells so good. As I said before, there is nothing like apples in the fall time of the year. They're just so good. And we're heading in that direction right now, so this dessert is just right on time. So let's go ahead, and I've got, you can use whatever vessel you want. If you want a square dish, I've got this round dish here that I'm going to put them in. It doesn't really matter about the container as long as the apples will fit in it. And mine's just going to fit. Okay, so we have that done. Now I'm going to start on the topping for it, the crisp. So now we're going to put our oat topping on here. And I have some ingredients. The first ingredient is 1 cup of brown sugar, 3/4 of a cup of all-purpose flour, 3/4 of a cup of old-fashioned oats, and a teaspoon of ground cinnamon. And I like to add nuts to mine. I mean, obviously, if you have a nut allergy, you would skip this step. And I'm using pecans, and I'm using about a cup of pecans. I would say the 2 nuts that would be great in this is either pecans or walnuts. And I'm going to mix these up first with my hands, but we're going to add a stick of cold butter to this. So it almost makes like a pie crust on top, but it's, oh gosh, it's going to be so good. And also, I forgot, my trusty nutmeg. Fresh nutmeg is always so good in everything. And I would always use fresh. I would never use ground. Ever since I've done this, I'm so in love with it. The smell is just amazing. And I would just grind maybe 1/8 of a teaspoon, because it is strong and it is fresh, so get that all mixed in there. That just takes it to another level. It just smells amazing already in here. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to take this 1 stick of butter. That's a 1/2 cup of butter. And I like to, it's cold butter, but I like to slice it up because I'm going to use a pastry. I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank. Pastry cutter to chop this all up. You can also use 2 knives. 2 knives work great when you're cutting butter into flour and stuff. It's a little messy. But this is how you're going to do it. And like I said, if you don't have one of these, the 2 knives would work. You would just take them together and just run it through the butter. And this should be all incorporated in this, almost like making biscuits. You want the butter cut all through all this dry. So I've got this mixed up. I wound up using my hands for most of it. I should have chose a bigger bowl. That was my fault. But let's go ahead and put this on here. And you just want to pile it on. I mean, there's no right or wrong way. Just get it on top and cover all the apples. Kids could help with this part. This would be a fun family dessert because kids love getting their hands in things, so I'm sure they would love to help mom or dad or both out. You see, this is it's pretty full, but those apples, when they cook, they'll shrink down a little bit. So don't be surprised if it, deflates a little bit in cooking. Now let me get my hands clean and then we'll stick this in the oven. So we're ready to put this in the oven. I have a pan with parchment paper. You'll see in all my shows, I really love parchment paper. It just makes your life so much easier when you're having to clean up spills, and this is probably going to bubble over a little bit. And we're going to be placing this in a 350-degree oven, and you want to bake it about 40 minutes until it's golden and bubbling around the edges. And in 40 minutes, we'll take a look and see what this baby looks like. Okay, let's go check on our apple crisp. It's been in the oven really about 45 minutes. I looked at it a little bit ago and gave it a few extra minutes. And we'll talk about that in a minute, about the difference in the time. And you'll see that I have a piece of foil over this, and there's a reason for that. When I checked on it earlier, the top was getting a little browner, and I didn't want it to burn. So simply, if you see that happening before the apples are done, make sure you put a piece of foil over it. And it's going to also depend on your vessel. I've got a deep vessel here, so it might take a little longer for those apples to get done. Just depending, you know, if you have a more narrow, longer dish, it may take less time. You know, it can be anywhere from 40 minutes, maybe almost up to an hour, depending if it's a real thick one. So just watch it, and all ovens are different, and you'll just have to watch and use your best judgment on that. So I am ready to dig into this, to see this goodness and hopefully enjoy. This would be great with a big scoop of vanilla ice cream on it. And I'm going to have to blow on this a little bit, because it did just come out of the oven. We don't want to scald our tongues, but it sure does look and smell delicious. Oh my gosh. That's heaven right there. Thank you all for watching, and be sure to subscribe if you enjoy the channel, and make sure to remember to press the bell icon for notifications so you'll get all of our videos. And I appreciate you watching today. Ciao.